Hello all. So I have prepared this video today because myself are working for several years as a QA and automation engineer. I've built several QA automation suites in Ruby, Java, Python, JavaScript, and basically I have seen over the years that teams are spending huge amount of resources really on building QA automation suites. And the fact is that we could do much, much better. The title here is Testing Robotically because it is actually what you do with automation. Sure, is like you're not testing as a human, you don't bring empathy, ideas, you don't change the scenario on the fly, you don't know the business requirements. It's just a robot that is executing steps without knowing what is actually executing. And it's just that it can work independently from you and much faster. But it's just, this is literally what you're doing. We're testing as a robot, testing robotically. So first of all, let's see why we're doing this. So the why is the most important question. Is like why build a QA automation suite in the first place? Why spend the resources to do it? And here I'm defining a goal. This doesn't mean that it's the only goal, the only idea to exist. But for me, I've seen that the most value comes from preserving working functionality because everyone else in the company, or I would say that like the entire company is focused on the new feature, on the new product, on the update on the existing product that is happening. So it's focusing on a particular place of the product. But what about all the rest of the functionality that is there on the servers running for the customers or the clients on a daily basis, and the customers currently care mostly for what they already have, and they don't love yet your new feature that you're building. So you want to preserve this working functionality, but the goal here is also this denominator with minimal resources. So how do we know that we're doing this successfully? I mean, before we say how we're gonna do this, there are a lot of ideas how we're gonna do it. How we're gonna know that we're doing it successfully? First, bring the metrics, right? So key metrics of success that we define is the count of automated scenarios increasing, but this is a usual kind key metrics of success, but this doesn't give if the automated scenarios are of high quality, if they are testing what they should be testing mostly, it doesn't give the priority. So this is a kind of dummy metric that is being used a lot just to show some progress. But for me, it's not success. We cannot bind this metric with this goal because this goal is a little bit goes beyond this count. So let's go with the first one, first of the three. The false alarms are increasing over time. On a daily basis, you have heard the pain of the QA engineers trying to solve, like to understand which are the false alarms, which are the true bugs, and um, you might have turned a term called flakiness. So on a daily basis, these are days. So one day we have some false alarms, the other day we have even more false alarms, and some more false alarms, and every day we have something to maintain. And this is a bad situation. This means, in general, that something is not communicated correctly. The automation suite, it doesn't have a great quality itself. So this is a bad situation. A good situation looks like that when the false alarms inevitably because something will change in the product, something will be released, and the QA team will not have time to have built the QA automation yet to support all these new changes. So at some day we're gonna have some faults around that we need to maintain, and some other day also this will happen. But it's not gonna be daily, and it's gonna be very minimal, like one or two on a daily basis. So this is one thing that we need to have, that this also is decreasing over time. Another thing is that obviously, the overall success of the business, like count of incidents are minimized over time. So this is how every release needs to look like. So this is every release, we're releasing the product, and what are the incidents? This needs to, even if it's asymptotic here, it needs to decrease over time. Because this is showing that we're confident, we're more and more confident, and how we're gonna do this, increases this confidence, and we don't have problems. Like we're releasing new stuff, and we're confident of that. So we need to measure this to see this decrease over time. And third one is the average number of new scenarios per person. This is at least steady. And if you think uh, that all of these together, because if these are true, so here the average number of new scenarios per person, like people are building new stuff, and if all of these are true, we have achieved our goal here, and also we have a lot of other things are going well in the company overall. Because here, average number of new scenarios per person means that there have been given a proper training. So someone is giving, is constantly offering new scenarios or update scenarios. This means that the spaghetti code is not something in your automation suite, so you're not having an automation suite that's overly complex. And in general, like you're doing well also communication wise. For example, here the false alarms, they are decreasing. This means that the front end team has a good communication with the QA team, and they're not just releasing without communicating with the QA team ever, for example, or something like that. And these are the three metrics. They are numbers. You can actually plot them and measure them, and this is how we're defining our success. So let's see what we did before the automation era. First of all, we did nothing. It was a lack of competition, right? Like you, there was you just let the customer suffer, or the customers were used that things, software products were not of great quality, and you needed to communicate with the customer support team to solve your issues, and this back and forth was a kind of acceptable, let's say, back then. And basically, you did nothing, and there was no QA team, or at least there was some QA team, but there was no a QA. Uh, like there was some manual QA, but there was nothing to test all the already existing functionality. Then we saw that we needed this kind of quality. We brought the regression suite manually. Um, here, this is always a good idea to do it, because before you automate, before you ask the robot to do something, right, you need to do it yourself first, like to understand how difficult it is or all its peculiarities, and basically to understand where to focus. better. And you might see some bubbles like that. We're lacking the images here, but maybe we'll put them in some later, more official presentations presentation here. Um, and basically, this is what we used to do before the automation era. And so here are two ideas how to automate. First of all, you automate by code. You have all these tools like Selenium for the web, Appium for the mobile. You can use Cypress using JavaScript. In code, you can now we have Playwright both in JavaScript and in Python, and basically in most popular languages, there is a way to automate by code. The other idea is to use a lot of platforms which are getting better, are getting smarter and more intelligent and more helpful, and they're dropping any situations that they had in the past, um, to have automation built without writing any code at all, or at least making it very low code, so you only write code in some small part where you really need them, but mostly you can build the automation suite by writing no code. And the difference is that you here this you need to maintain it. These services, you just pay them, they maintain it on your behalf, and you just use them. And basically, you can have both. And yeah, so let me say this that you can have both. You can have the hybrid of having some scenarios uh, by code because um, you have like difficult situations that these no coding tools cannot manage, but you have a lot of scenarios that are very simple, just simple crude or smoke check scenarios that the no coding automation suites platforms can manage very well on their own. So you can have both. You don't have to choose one or another. Um, So first of all, let's explain the life of one scenario. So the life of one scenario can be like that. So one day passed, another day passed again, and it passed and passed again. And here we found a bug. It failed. We haven't fixed the bug yet, so it still fails and again fails. But now this day is being fixed, so the next day we have it again as passed and passed. So this one scenario is, we could say that it is useful because it was created. It actually found a bug, so it brought business value, and then this bug was fixed. And so meaning that the bug was fixed means that the bug was not of low priority. So you were targeting, usually a scenario that can capture a high importance bug. So we could say that this is a useful scenario. Let's go to the other situation that you found zero bugs. So someone could say that we are very happy that we have every day a past scenario for several months. So the point here is that you have created a scenario that nearly never finds a bug. You have to think why. Is it critical? Maybe you underestimated your developer team, right? Maybe the developer team is really good at building this kind of functionality, and you shouldn't have created this scenario, this automated scenario. And so, if it's not critical, you could consider even dropping it, or do some retrospective and say, why spend time creating in the first place? This is where the resources were usually wasted. However, if it is critical, yes, even if it was failed, even if it raised the bug one time in 5 years, still it's critical. So yes, keep it, please. And then we have scenarios that could look like that. So it passed, false alarm, passed again, found the bug, and passed. But actually, again, false alarm. I mean, why have like so many false alarms? Like maybe it was implemented too early before maturity. So a new feature was created, and I mean, are you sure you want to keep it? Are you sure the customers are going to love it? And on the other hand, you just created it. Why build a scenario for this right now? Let it mature a little bit, then consider this feature a mature feature, and then write an automation for that, right? Maybe on the other hand, maybe it needs refactoring. Maybe the code of the scenario is not written very well, and it cannot handle, maybe the JavaScript is very quick there. It has some race conditions, and yeah, maybe it just needs some refactoring. So again, here a lack of senior people, lack of training, um, again, waste of resources here. Testing environment is unstable. Uh, well, if this happens, then you certainly need to fix your testing environment before you trust it. Like if it's too unstable, just spend very few DevOps resources, and because otherwise, if you have scenarios like that, then you're wasting, on the other hand, too many resources to actually, yeah, to actually handle this. Uh, so this is the life of one scenario. So what happens with the life of many scenarios now, right? Let's say that you write your first 10 scenarios. Roughly, you could have one false alarm in the month. It's very maintainable, very easy. It's something one person can handle. Uh, it's like when things are starting, all these 10 scenarios are going to be critical scenarios. It's very easy and to organize this. Like then you have 100 scenarios, um, and then the situation changes a little bit because you have 100 scenarios and you have one false alarm per day. Then you start feeling like the pain of the flakiness. You wake up every morning and these few QA engineers that are there in the team, they have to suffer this every day and to like kind of fix it for some reason. Well, still 100 scenarios are not many, and again, it's kind of easy to find 100 epics. For example, it's and no need to organization is still very easy here. And we go to the next slide. You reach 1,000 scenarios, and now you have on average like roughly kind of five false alarms per day, which you could say that in 1,000 scenarios that are running in a nightly shift, this is not very bad, but still it's like on a daily basis, at least one person or a few persons like you're wasting. Don't think it like in a single day, like say one day is like 1,000 days in 1 year, and people are like wasting useful time on a daily basis to check these five false alarms. And And when you reach 10,000 scenarios, if you have not done a lot of things that need to have been done, like in terms of organization, of seniority, of appropriate tools, and in general intelligence, then you're gonna have 100 false alarms per day, and usually 1,000 scenarios are like abandoned, like they fail constantly, right? Like you don't have the time. No, like usually, depending on the nature, of course, of the industry, but usually they're not given resources to fix those 1,000 scenarios. And what has been observed is like that we have 9,000 scenarios are passing, and we're calling ourselves optimists, right? Like 9,000 scenarios are passing, so great. So we don't care about those 1,000 scenarios, or at least we're claiming that we don't care because a lot of customers and even new customers, which you might never call customer support, are suffering from these scenarios, from these situations. And yeah, waste of time, all of these false alarms, and bring zero business value, really. Like really a waste of time. So, why writing a new automated scenario needs to be super fast? So here again is like how you're spending resources on any new automated scenario, and why it needs to be super fast. So this is the like critical part here. Like, yes, you need to write a new automation scenario, but why it needs to be? Why do you need to write it quickly? Why the hurry? So the situation is because of the false alarms. So what has happened in the usually in the QA automation teams is like that. You start with a few scenarios here, like you're building the automation suite, you have excitement, like this is the excitement period, you're growing your automation suite, like this is like this feels creative, right? You're building it and then you still don't have any false alarms to deal with, so that's great. You're putting new stuff inside, and this is like exciting creative period. And then the false alarms come more and more and more, and then here you have frustration. And and when you have reached at this part, you have reached at this part, usually the company, like the business might shift a little bit, focus on other areas, and thus your work goes to recycle bin because of a total redesign. Something like priorities change, a feature might be dropped completely, and the project might be abandoned, and we focus on some others. Like the business needs to just change, right? So here your work goes to recycle bin and comes a disappointment. And unless, here I have an asterisk, unless the rare case with very little changes. And you understand that people do not enjoy this because people are gonna go through that again and again. This is what, like, you're going through that and you go to another, new feature, new project, and you go through excitement, frustration, and then again disappointment. How are we gonna avoid this? The only way to avoid this is like by being super fast. By being super fast means that when you're writing a new automated scenario in a super fast way, then this means that you have, let me see if you have much time yet. Okay. Um, so yeah, so you understand, like, if your work goes to recycle bin, then this means all these test scenarios, or at least a huge amount of them, and goes to waste. But doesn't only go to waste for you, also is a waste for the company, for the resources of the company. And when the company goes to a new project, focuses on a new feature or a new product, then new automated scenarios need to be written. So this means that all of the time you're writing new automated scenarios because the business needs change. So are you gonna keep wasting huge amount of resources to write again and again the new automated scenarios? No. You need to be super efficient. You need to be super intelligent on what you're building and what you're choosing to build. Since either way, at some point, it's gonna go to recycle bin, and all this huge test automation shoot wasn't worth it at the end, right? Especially those that have a lot of false alarms. So let me click here. So, what is the most common stakeholder complaint? Like, the stakeholders have provided people, a large QA team. They have provided tools, subscription to platforms, especially with the no coding tools. They have given the a lot of time, a lot of months, the luxury of time to the team, and basically they have also offered them to be trained in various tools. And the complaint is still this: still customers complaining and major issues in product. So obviously, when this is happening, obviously, what is being tested is suboptimal. It's not optimal. It's like what you have chose to test because you spend all of that, right? And you have the stakeholder complaint. So and this is true. It's not just a complaint. This is like actually true. We can measure it from customer support. Then this means that what is being tested is suboptimal. You need to do better. So, what to test? There are various ideas of what needs to be tested, right? Um, so what needs to be tested is um, that someone claims that we should create automated scenarios for all bugs that are reported so they never appear again. So this is like the fear of the bug, to whoever likes Iron Maiden, and and like if you think about it, you have like 1,000 epics with 3 bugs per epic, so you can easily have 3,000 scenarios. And you could say that this is all that needs to be tested. Like if a bug is, reported, but there is a counter argument for that. If these bugs are solved, then likely they will not be reappear, right? So we have some bugs, we have solved them. How likely are they to reappear in the future? Because this is why you're making the automated scenario because you're afraid that this bug will reappear. And yes, and let's go to the next one. So what to test is customer support. Because someone other claims we should create a monetary scenario only by those areas pointed by customer support, as they know where the pain is. And this is a totally second, very fair point. The customer support knows the pain of the customers, so they know what to test. Again, the counter argument here is what about those critical areas that no one complained yet, either because we were lucky or because new feature is not used much yet. So think about that. And here I'm going to pause the video. Okay, well, you in the video, you didn't notice the small break here, but let's elaborate for one moment for this. Again, to recap, like the customer support, and you know, might be biased. In other words, like there are areas that no one complained, or those who actually complained, um, are complaining for some specific parts and not for the entire application. You might have churn because of, and you might not know from which part of the product this comes from, right? Um, and this is just a second idea. And let's go to the third one. What to test? Someone might say, forget about the other two, forget about customer support or bugs. We're gonna use analytics. Analytics is gonna show us everything where the users spend their time, and basically this is our prioritization. If they visit this page more or this screen more than the others, then we build test automation suite based on what the users are using. So basically building a map of the entire app, again, can yield to thousands of scenarios, right? And not one idea, another thousands of scenarios. So the counter argument here is, what if users happen to pass frequently from areas of the app that have low complexity and rarely have bugs? So you will be spending, again, resources to build an automation suite that has no value to you, because these few areas, these pain points were missed because we went with the popularity of what the analytics showed us. But still, again, this is a valid claim. It's just that not on its own. Let's go to the fourth one. So someone claims, that why care about user analytics, customer support, and stuff like that. Let's use some tools like SonarQube, Lizard, and other tools. They will do static analysis of the code, and they will detect where the complexity is and give you the areas that need attention. So SonarQube obviously gives you a huge amount of information about how to solve the code and etc. But in the overall report, you can also see and find out which are the areas of the product that are more complex than the other, that have more, they need more care, for example, to have a better quality of code. So again, by using this feedback alone, you can have another set of 1,000 scenarios. Totally different prioritization here based on the complexity of the code. But here again, there's the counter argument. What if for some reason some complex areas have not yielded any bugs lately, or if these areas will not be updated in the near future? Okay, I missed an S here, but this is the like complexity doesn't, it has some correlation with bugs for sure, but it doesn't mean that goes hand in hand. Doesn't mean that we can replace complexity with where we found bugs and we have a direct correlation, and thus, because if we had, then this idea would be the best idea of what to test. Just do static analysis. But one counter argument is that, a couple of counter arguments actually. Let's go to a fifth and I believe final here idea that what to test is should come from the team. The team lead should give some feedback. The dev lead, the product owner, someone that knows where the issues are. And this person is going is not going to do something analytical. Just from his experience, he will share what needs to be tested. He will guide you from to build an automation suite, even if they are not QA engineers or never trained to that. And but again, counter arguments here. Their job has other responsibilities. They might be actually new in the project if they changed recently. Human bias and the human memory, it's a bias by itself, right? So, but again, someone could claim that this is all we need to do. So let's summarize here. What to test? Bugs, based on customer feedback, user analytics, code static analytics, team lead feedback. You can also ask ChatGPT to give you some feedback these days, either by reading your code or by understanding your business to suggest what to test. And you can have here even more ideas, right? What to test actually comes from all of these. And the challenge is that you need to be very careful and smart when choosing which scenarios will be automated because again going back, none of these ideas are true, none of these are silver bullets. All of these are useful indeed. So that's why you need to be very careful and smart. Just use your intelligence. Like combine what the data tells you. The data is like, customer support kind of feedback. User analytics is data. Code static analysis is data. Like if you can, I don't know, if you can aggregate bugs somehow, you can use it as data. But you need to use both your data and your intuition and the advice you're gonna get and intelligence in order to bring, you know, in order to be able to choose what needs to be automated. So one solution that offering here today is you might have other solutions to this challenge, but it's to spend time, actually like invest time and brains and like senior people, like use your brain. It's not like an easy task, should not be taken lightly to build the automation map. How? First of all, is like the difficult part that one has seen is like saying yes, like saying yes to this, that you're actually going to do it. And if you're actually going to do it, the how is not so difficult. You need to prioritize, care for the stability, like explain what the resources are, try to cover fully, make it reader friendly. So the automation map, some should have some prioritization. Due to the stability, need to explicitly say that some areas we're not going to cover them, but we know which areas are these. And explain what the resources are, that we have these particular resources. That's why we take these decisions on what to automate. Again, try to cover the full map, not try to cover what you will automate. Try to cover everything. What would be the ultimate automation suite that would cover everything? To start from there, to see from a higher perspective what is happening in this product, what are all the areas that we could cover, and make it, of course, really friendly and other things. So, if you do all of that, because if you care for this and if you solve this issue, if you know what to test, First of all, you're gonna have minimal incidents and bugs to end users because you're testing intelligently. You really have built though this test automation suite that really catches the bugs. You're gonna have a steady pace of automation expansion because you invested on quality of the scenarios, not on quantity, right? Not on quantity. You invested on the quality of the scenarios. You're gonna have minimal false alarms on a daily basis because you spend resources intelligently, right? You thought about like how not to have false alarm, not to test this particular scenario because it's gonna bring us a lot of false alarms in in the upcoming weeks. And fourth, the stakeholders, if all of the above have been achieved, must be happy, right? If someone is still complaining and you have brought all of this optimization and they are still not happy, then they don't trust you, they don't understand your business, you cannot do anything more for them. You have already done, something optimal given the resources. So that's all, folks. And I'm gonna change a little bit a quote for developers, and I'm gonna use it for QA automation and say that QA automation is not like sex. Even if you do zero mistakes, you still have to support it for the rest of your life. And indeed, this is the last slide. And thank you very much for taking the time to watch this today.